Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for clicking on this video if you're new here. If you like what you see in here, please hit subscribe. And I want to say thank you so much to all the love that you guys have shown my previous videos. And I want to say again that I am recording regularly. I'm recording in stereo. I'm not recording in mono. But I've noticed that when I listen to this with wired headphones, then it plays back in 2 ears. If I listen to it with AirPods, it plays back in 1 ear and sometimes goes into 2. I don't know what the problem is. I think it may just be an Apple thing. But I want to say thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, and hyping up my past videos. Thank you so much. And let's get into this one. Meghan Markle wants you to believe she's a foodie. She had a lifestyle blog where she posted recipes. She appeared on cooking shows. She dated a chef. She wrote the foreword to a cookbook. She launched a Netflix cooking show. And now she's selling jam. But here's the problem. None of it has ever been convincing. Not the recipes, not the origin stories, not the food photography, not the cooking demonstrations. Because when you actually look at 15 years of Meghan positioning herself as a food authority, a pattern emerges. And it's not the pattern of someone who genuinely loves food and cooking. It's the pattern of someone performing what they think wealth and sophistication look like without actually understanding either. From grilled lettuce to Trader Joe's pretzels repackages a recipe, from constantly contradicting origin stories, to a Netflix show where half the recipes aren't even hers, let's break down why Meghan Markle's foodie persona has never worked, and why everyone can tell. Let's start with how Meghan says she learned to cook, because depending on when you ask her, you'll get a completely different answer. During her Suits years, Meghan claimed she grew up on the set of Married with Children, where her dad was the lighting director. She says she learned to plate food by hanging out with the catering staff. She also said her dad took her to Muzo and Frank Grill, a famous Hollywood steakhouse, every single week. She posted about it on Instagram in 2013, positioning herself as someone who grew up with access to upscale dining. She said her mom was a travel agent, so they traveled to Hawaii and Mexico and all these different places to eat off the beaten path at authentic local spots. This is the I grew up around good food and learned from professionals narrative. At some point, she also claimed that in college she'd watch the Food Network and teach herself to cook that way. Standard stuff, learning from chefs on TV. When she appeared as a guest on Chopped Jr. in 2016, she talked about growing up eating farm-to-table food. Fresh, local, wholesome ingredients from childhood. Then, after leaving the royal family in 2020, Meghan's story changed dramatically. Suddenly, she grew up poor. She was a latchkey kid eating TV dinners. A $4.99 salad from Sizzlers was a treat. This was the I Came From Nothing rebrand. And now, most recently, Meghan claims she learned to cook from her mother and her black side of the family, the same family members who weren't at her wedding and doesn't have a relationship with in her life whatsoever. So which is it, Meghan? Did you grow up wealthy, eating at fancy Hollywood steakhouses and traveling internationally? Or did you grow up poor, eating TV dinners and considering $5 salad a luxury? Did you learn from catering staff on a TV set, from Food Network, from farm-to-table sources, or from your mysterious black family? The story keeps changing, and that's the first sign this isn't genuine. It's strategic. The narrative shifts based on what serves her at the moment. Now let's talk about the take. This is where Meghan really tried to establish herself as a food authority. She posted recipes, she interviewed chefs, she wrote about restaurants. But when you actually look at what she was posting, it all falls apart. I went through all of the TIG archives and found every single recipe she ever posted about, and here's a list of them all. Beet cheesecake, poached pear and spiced orange juice, kale salad, spicy broccoli and hemp seed stew, sweet potato and white bean soup, crostini, acai bowls, baked eggs and avocado, short ribs that she had a chef explain how to cook, chicken stew, pumpkin and lentil soup, turkey tortilla soup, gingerberry crumble, matzo ball soup, smoked salmon sandwich, salted cod fritters, soft shell crab, avocado toast, nori rolls, salad, onion pizza, chocolate cake, afternoon tea, toasted oatmeal brulee, fish tacos, and spaghetti. Now let's be honest, this is very 2014 Pinterest wellness influencer aesthetic. Acai bowls, kale salad, avocado toast, hemp seed stew. These aren't the recipes of someone who deeply loves cooking. These are recipes of someone chasing Instagram trends. And let's look at the food photography Meghan posted alongside these recipes. She would either show a flat lay with PNG images of the ingredients, or she would show very grainy, frankly unappetizing, terrible looking so-called photography. She was never doing professional food styling type of videos. She never invested in a DSLR for photos, which is very odd because she was trying to position herself as this lifestyle blogger, and people who were lifestyle blogging at the time took it very seriously, invested in a lot of gear, cameras, all that stuff to make it look as professional as possible, because a lot of these people who enjoyed cooking and such ended up making cookbooks. A lot of the women who are posting their outfit photos were the OG influencers and ended up having their own fashion collections, going to Fashion Week. But Meghan, it's always interesting that she never made the investment in buying, let's say, a $300 camera, and even getting someone, as much as she was, hobnobbing with Jake Rosenberg, she never got him to take pictures of her for the take and do professional photos, which is very interesting. So she posts things like a dry, sad looking fish on a cutting board, raw chicken and lettuce on a cutting board with the caption roasted chicken coming up. And if you compare this to people like Athena Calderon of I Swoon, who's a food creator from the same era, Athena had professional food photography, styling, sophisticated recipes, collaborations. She's did one with Crate and Barrel a few years ago, that sort of thing, but she's been doing this for a long time. She has cookbooks. She tried to position herself alongside Athena by making acai bowls together. And there's this very long article where basically Athena is talking about how she met her at Fashion Week and she was so sweet and they started chatting about food. I personally think Meghan already knew who she was, approached her, studied her. That's my personal opinion. But she does say, when asked who or what initiated your love of food and cooking, she says, growing up in Southern California had so much to do with this. We had a lemon tree and fig tree in my backyard. I loved gardening and growing my own vegetables. That farm-to-table ethos was ingrained at such a young age. Also, I grew up on the set of the TV show Married with Children, where my dad was the lighting director. The show was saucier than a girl my age should be watching, so my dad would have me help in craft services. I would help make the food trays and learned how connective food could be and how happy people would be when I walked in with a tray of perfect crudités. It was awesome and definitely planted the seed of my love for making and sharing food. And this was in 2015. Now we're going back to the take for a series of chef talks where Meghan would interview chefs from fancy restaurants. This one says, I have this ritual. After I have an audition in New York, I treat myself to a glass of wine at the restaurant down the street from my agency. The twist here is that this post-audition tipple is at the bar of 11 Madison Park, ranked as the 4th best restaurant in the world, and consistently garnering 3 Michelin stars. This is a far cry from the post-audition snack of McDonald's apple pie I used to indulge myself with 10 years ago. Pause. You see what I'm talking about? Everything is look at me now. I used to eat McDonald's and eat an apple pie when I was auditioning in my 20s, but now that I'm like here on Suits, I'm a big star. I'm at Michelin star restaurants. I do this every time I'm in NY. Look at me. From the drive-thru, no less. But I've worked hard, and I feel deserving of a glorious goblet of red-hued perfection. The fact that the closest locale is one of the world's most lauded restaurants, well, that's just serendipity. So when I had the privilege of meeting Chef Daniel Hum at the 60th anniversary for Reliés and Chateau at the French consulate, I shared with him my ritual. His response, but have you ever had the food? The tone in his voice said this would be rectified. Fast forward to the next day. I knew the food would be exceptional. I knew it would be layered with precision, and tonight, with unsurpassed technique and unparalleled service. Restaurants of this caliber has to be. But what I wasn't expecting in this multi-course adventure that Chef Hum crafted for me was the wholly satisfying component that is often lacking from Michelin course meals: soul. That is so rude to even say that people who cook Michelin-starred meals, there's no soul in it. This is the first time you're eating a meal from a Michelin-starred place with soul. Like, what are you saying? A humble bowl of tomato broth with thyme sprig transported me to eating tomato sandwiches with my grandmother. It conjured beautiful memories. It smelled like summer but warmed like autumn. Then there was the whimsy, a play on a deli meal paired with house sodas, a cheese course tucked into a picnic basket, pretzel bread and beer in tow, and a smoked fish presentation that did everything but say ta-da. It was unequivocally magical. And to talk to Daniel through each of these courses, to hear about the cycling injury that kept him off his bike and propelled him into the kitchen, how he strives for excellence and balances being a dad and a chef, that was the proverbial icing on the cake, or in this case, the duck fat butter on the brioche. He shared how years ago one critic said 11 Madison Park needed more Miles Davis, and that instead of discouraging him, it became their ethos. So much so that pictures of Miles hang in the kitchen along with words that parallel the artist and EMP. Pictures I was able to see when I went backstage to have my dessert. An apple shaved ice, churned out a few feet from the mise en place. this place, this chef are both absolutely surreal. I'm so humbled to have Chef Hum on Chef's Talks today. Yes, because he's at the top of his game. Yes, because 11 Madison Park serves up undoubtedly the best meal I've ever had. But also because this experience is a reminder that fancy need not be fussy and that not all Michelin-starred chefs are created equal. These are the questions that she asks every single chef. 1. What's the staff meal your kitchen gets most excited about? 2. What's the one knife you can't live without? 3. What's your naughty food indulgence? 4. What's your mini bar go-to? 5. If you could stage any restaurant in your city, where would it be and why? 6. After a long day at work, you go home and? 7. If you weren't working in a kitchen, what would you be doing? 8. Drink of choice? 9. One cookbook you can't live without? 10. What's the most overrated ingredient? 11. Describe cooking in one word. So this is when Meghan went with Lindsay Roth to this event, and it was like an actual event because it was the 60th anniversary, so it was a big deal. So I'm going to say that he was cooking for everyone, okay? And also, yes, CBS was there, so it was actually a very big event. So wouldn't it be fair to think that, of course, the chef is being nice? Of course, he's answering your questions because you were being there with Lindsay Roth, which at the time she was a producer for a food show and she was a producer for a network. So wouldn't it make sense? You're like the talent, right? You're one of the celebrities that's being brought to the restaurant. You know, you're not just some random woman who walked in and they're like, oh, let's do a TikTok or whatever, right? So she's positioning herself, of course, as Rachel Zane from Suits, the show that's on TV. I run a blog too, and let's talk about food. I just so happened to stumble upon this very long TikTok, but normally they're not this long. But the questions that she asks are basic questions, surface level, the kind of questions someone who doesn't know much about cooking would ask to seem engaged. A real food journalist or chef would ask about technique, sourcing, flavor profiles, inspirations, challenges. Meghan asks about mini bar snacks. Then there's this gem. On the TIG, Meghan wrote about her ginger berry crumble recipe. She said, I love baking that lets you play and experiment. The less precise stuff is right up my alley. But on the show with Love Meghan, she says she doesn't like baking. So which is it? In 2016, Meghan appeared on the Today Show with Matt Lauer for a cooking segment, and she grilled lettuce. Yes, grilled lettuce. She claimed that it brought out the flavor. She appeared as a guest on Hailey Duff's cooking show where they ate pickled okra and Meghan looked awkward, repulsed, and like she didn't want to be there. And even with Love Meghan, people say that she looks awkward, grossed out sometimes, and like she doesn't want to be there, and like she looks angry to be in the kitchen cooking. Now we need to talk about Meghan's obsession with roast chicken, because it's not normal. She mentions roast chicken more times than anyone should. She writes about making roast chicken on the TIG. She said that she was roasting a chicken when Harry proposed. In my Fashion Week video, she talks about roast chicken even when talking to Glamour magazine. She constantly talks about having achieved an in a garden level roast chicken. And she acts like roasting chicken is this revolutionary, sophisticated thing. But here's the thing. Roast chicken is basic. It's a foundational cooking skill. It's not something you fixate on for years as proof of culinary prowess. And I think that what's happening here is the same thing that happened with the TIG wine. Let me explain. Meghan couldn't stop talking about the TIG wine, and she even named her blog after it. What I personally think is that that was the most expensive wine that Meghan ever drank, and because she knew the price, she felt like, oh my gosh, I've arrived. Look at me. I can brag about this. But she positioned it as this marker of sophistication and class. I think that she became fixated on this because she thinks that talking about it makes her look classy and sophisticated, like someone who knows wine, and she keeps dropping that name over and over and over and over and over. At one point, there was even a thing called Marry Me Chicken, Tuscan Chicken, one of those names that was all over Pinterest at one point in time. And she thought, this is what sophisticated people make. If you guys don't know, there's a rapper named Fetty Wap who was popular in the 2010s, and he said that he and his friends called themselves the Remy Boys because they went to the liquor store and saw Remy Martin 1738 cognac, which is about $50 to $70 for certain sizes. And it was either behind glass or a high shelf, and they thought that it was the most expensive and prestigious bottle in the store. They started to call themselves the Remy Boys, thinking that, oh, it's so prestigious, so we call ourselves that, so everyone will know that we are like classy, like the Remy Martin drink. He even used the term 1738 in his songs all the time because of that association. Meghan is doing the same thing. She's fixating on markers she thinks signify class and sophistication. The Tig wine, Ina Garten's roast chicken, and repeating them endlessly, thinking that it makes her look like a master chef or a foodie. But actual foodies don't operate that way. They have depth of knowledge. They talk about technique, sourcing, regional cuisine, seasonal ingredients. They don't repeat the same references for a decade. During the time as a working royal, Meghan had a few food-related moments. On the Australia tour in 2018, Meghan baked banana bread. The media covered it extensively. It's banana bread. During another time, she wrote inspirational messages on bananas with a Sharpie, things like "You're strong" and "You're loved," that were included in lunch packages for former adult workers. The intention was interesting, but writing on bananas with a Sharpie is just not it. Meghan wrote the foreword to the Together Our Community cookbook created by women from the Grenfell Tower Community Kitchen. The book sold well, and Meghan acted like it was her idea, her project, but it wasn't. She wrote a foreword, and the women did the work. Yet this became another bullet point in her foodie credentials. And then now, much later, post-Megxit, we arrive at American Riviera Orchard. She sent jam in giant baskets of lemons to celebrities, including the Kardashians, and nobody cared. The media, the pay-to-play allegedly media, wrote about it, but truly nobody else cared. And then, in 2025, she rebranded American Riviera Orchard as Ever, which she stole from a photography company, a clothing brand in New York City that already had the name, etc., etc. She didn't use any of the products from American Riviera Orchard or As Ever in the Netflix show. They didn't launch together. There was no integration. So what's this brand actually for? And now she's selling raspberry jam, honey apricot spread, box shortbread mix, flour sprinkles, and crepe mix. And this is Trader Joe's level products with a luxury price tag and Meghan's name attached. It's not groundbreaking. It's not artisanal. It's basic pantry items repackaged as lifestyle branding, just like everything else in Meghan's foodie persona, performance without substance. And then during With Love Meghan, it was supposed to be her big foodie moment, a multi-season cooking show. It was her own platform to finally prove she's a culinary authority. In part 1, or some people call it season 1, it's truffle popcorn, peanut butter pretzels from Trader Joe's put into another bag, honey lemon cake, ladybug crostini, fried chicken and kimchi that was not her idea, it was another chef's idea, sun tea, focaccia, pasta salad, floral ice that is straight out of Pinterest 2014, and salted fish, chicken tacos, garden salad, a rainbow fruit platter, crudité, which is raw vegetables, and one-pan pasta that was popular 10 years ago. And part 2 was the same, and the holiday special was the same. Most of the recipes were made by someone else in part 2 and the Christmas special. And this is not a cooking show. This is Meghan hosting people who actually know how to cook while she watches or is a sous chef. And the critics of the show focused on how boring it was, how the recipes are basic, circa Pinterest 2014 level content. Meghan doesn't look directly at the camera. She's always talking to off-screen producers or the guests that are next to her. There's no genuine passion or skill on display. And it's literally like she's afraid of us. It's afraid, like she's afraid of the viewer. She has a brand, but she turns the comments off, where people are supposed to be buying her products and reviewing it, but she will not let people have input on how it went, if they want a refund, anything like that. There are several things that become very obvious when you watch With Love Meghan. Number 1, she actually doesn't like cooking. Meghan looks miserable while cooking. There's no joy, no passion, and no excitement about the food or the process. She'll chop vegetables for a few minutes, say that she's tired, and pour herself a pint of beer to relax. In fact, there's alcohol in almost every single scene. She's constantly drinking while cooking. Beer, wine, cocktails. It's not cooking with wine for flavor. It's, I need a drink to get through this filming. And honestly, that tells you everything. Someone who genuinely loves cooking doesn't look like they're being forced to do it. They don't need to drink their way through a cooking demonstration. Compare this to other chefs or other people that are actually cooking, even food influencers. They're engaged. They're enjoying themselves. They're present. Meghan looks like she'd rather be anywhere else. Problem number 2. The hygiene issues. Meghan cooks with her hair down. Long hair hanging all around the food, no tie back, no precautions. Touching dogs and cooking. She's constantly nibbling on ingredients while cooking for other people, tasting with her fingers, putting things in her mouth, then continuing to handle food that's meant for guests. She puts uncovered meat in the fridge. Just raw meat uncovered next to other food. Any professional chef or any at-home cook who takes food safety seriously would never do this. But Meghan isn't a professional, and it shows. And here's what's also revealing. Look at the food Meghan actually eats and cooks on the show and on her Instagram. Pasta, vegetables, alcohol, desserts, a little bit of chicken. That's it. That's the rotation. And in old interviews, she would talk about things like green juice. In more current interviews, they would say that when she went out, she'd order a quinoa bowl, never a steak, never anything substantial or indulgent in any genuine way. During the talk at Godmother's bookstore, Meghan let it slip that she's basically done with trying to be perfect and that it's so exhausting, and that she answers the door barefoot to demystify herself with guests. I guess in her mind, she thinks that because she got a title because of marriage, she thinks that when people meet her, they're going to say, wow, a duchess. We have to curtsy. We have to bow, as if she's walking around everywhere with like crown jewels on or something like that. And that's not the case. So she somehow thinks that taking off her shoes in her own house, which is what you're supposed to do, is demystifying. So she's always thinking about how she's being perceived, but she's, I'm going to say it in my opinion, has delusions of grandeur and is a grandiose narcissist. So in her head, she thinks everyone is viewing her as literally the Emperor of Japan or Queen Elizabeth II, but she's not nowhere, nothing, never will be anything remotely close to people like that. And she said that she also makes people self-serve at her house, that she's tired of being perfect. She doesn't want to be perfect. She doesn't want to serve anyone. Serving people, that was for Netflix, but in her house, she doesn't do that. She said she just steeps tea, leaves cups on the table, and that people can just help themselves. So she wants credit for being this elegant, effortless hostess, but she's actually lazy about it, and she complains that hosting properly is exhausting. And I'm going to make this comparison, and I think that only Think Beautiful, I love her channel by the way, has made this comparison, but I've also noticed this. Meghan sent her products to two talented content creators, Akilah Relaford Gould and Olivia McDowell. Both of them are amazing women. I love their content, and Olivia lives in New York City. Akilah lives in California, and her family owns a huge ranch. And she has her own products. She has a wine. I think it's a rosé. She has flower sprinkles too. And when she sent, Akilah actually went viral for sending products back to Meghan. She made a very beautiful gift basket and said she was going to send it back to Meghan. I don't know if she has a return address or how she's going to figure that out. But people were like, wow, your products look way better than Meghan's, okay? And both of them are known for their hosting content, their cooking, their very chic lifestyles, their very calm demeanor. And if any of you two are watching this video, I'm not hating, okay? I'm just saying my personal opinion is that Meghan is studying you guys, copying you guys, trying to take your swag. That's my personal opinion, and that's just my opinion, okay? That's my opinion. And that's it. That's why she sent you guys her products and not like a bunch of other influencers. There was very few influencers who got PR packages from Meghan, but I know that I personally feel that you two got them because I think Meghan is studying you guys. That's my opinion. And to me, that's the same thing that she was trying to do with Athena, which is I Swoon 10 years ago. When you look at her personal Instagram and her As Ever Instagram, she doesn't feature these other people. She will post it on her stories sometimes. Most people with brands post other creators featuring their products, and therein lies also the issue of not going viral, people not really talking about her products in a positive way because she is not sharing her space with anyone who uses the product. She would never, in my opinion, do a collaboration with Olivia. She would never do a collaboration with Akilah because in my opinion, being around people like that intimidates her. It would freak her out. She knows that they know what they're doing. I don't want to sound ageist, but they're so young. They're beautiful. They're like in their mid-20s, and they're also so accomplished. In their 20s, we know who they are. I'm talking about them. They have collaborated with brands from all over the world. They are young, beautiful, classy, and themselves. Like genuine class oozes out of them. But with Meghan, we know that it's always been a persona, a very fake one at that, very surface level at that. So I don't think she would be able to handle being around people who actually know how to make very nice floral arrangements and people who actually know how to cook and would make very grand dinner parties just themselves, who genuinely love cooking, who have positive family relationships. She could not be around those people because they would make her look bad, not intentionally, but it would just be obvious of who is real and who's pretending. If she'd been smart about all of this from the beginning, she would have made a completely different show. I think she should have gone to different restaurants, eaten and drank with a different guest each episode, and just talked, because that's what she truly loves: eating out, dining out, eating at very fancy places. She's not comfortable cooking, she doesn't enjoy it, and she's simply not good at it. She's comfortable at being hosted, being being served and being in beautiful spaces with beautiful food that someone else made. But she can't let anyone shine other than her. Meghan has spent 15 years trying to convince people she's a foodie. She's changed her origin story at least 5 times, from wealthy Hollywood upbringing to poor latchkey kid, from learning on TV sets to learning from her black family that she doesn't see. She posted poorly styled food videos of raw chicken and dry fish on the TIG. She grilled lettuce and shrimp on the Today Show. She's been obsessed with roast chicken for over a decade. She appeared on a Netflix cooking show where half the recipes were made by other people. She put Trader Joe's pretzels in a bag and called it content. She launched a jam brand that nobody wanted. And through it all, she claimed that the haters are jealous, that people are probably cooking her one-pan pasta while criticizing her. But here's the truth. The critiques aren't about hate. They're about the fact that none of this has ever been convincing. Real foodies have depth, they have technique, they have a passion that's evident in everything they do. Meghan has surface-level references she repeats endlessly, thinking they make her look sophisticated. Take wine, roast chicken, in a garden. But saying the same things for 15 years doesn't make you a foodie. It makes you someone performing what you think a foodie looks like without ever understanding what actually makes someone credible in that space. And thank you guys so much for watching this video, and God bless you and all your families, and I'll see you in the next one.